There is more breaking legal news involving former President Donald Trump, this time in a different case, the classified documents case in Florida. A federal judge has rejected the request from special counsel Jack Smith. He requested a gag order against Donald Trump. Let's bring in CNN's Caitlin Polans. Caitlin, tell us more about this ruling, which came just moments ago.
Yeah, Jake, so prosecutors from the special counsel's office at the Justice Department are not going to be able to limit Donald Trump's speech about law enforcement who were part of that Mar-a-Lago search in August of 2022 at this time because they didn't follow the proper procedure. That's what Judge Aileen Cannon just said moments ago. The prosecutors had gone to her on Friday in the evening, right before the holiday week, asking her to put limitations on what Donald Trump could say because he was out there talking misleadingly about the FBI policies around the use of deadly force, a policy that was standard and in place for that search of the resort in Florida. But Trump was trying to say that he was in danger because of it. That was not true. So the prosecutors wanted to protect the proceedings, protect their own officers, and have a gag order. They felt that it was a very dangerous situation, so they went to the judge. Trump's team, though, took issue with this because they said they didn't have enough time to think about this and to respond and meaningfully work with the prosecutors to provide some sort of meet and confer. That's what they say in court. And so Judge Cannon today agreed with Trump's team. She said this was unprofessional and not courteous in the way that the Justice Department went about this, coming to her with the gag order request, that anything in the future they need to have more time given to the defense team. And so she's denying they could always try again. But as of now, no gag order for Trump in the Florida case.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about another L for Jack Smith and the Democrats' political persecution against Trump. I got to tell you, man, the mainstream liberal media, they're going to lose their mind on Judge Aileen Cannon, okay? Because she is making a lot of decisions that is pissing them off, okay? She's already decided to delay the trial indefinitely, okay? And is at the point now where the mainstream liberal media has been essentially questioning her qualifications, saying that she's not qualified and throwing accusations against her that they tell us that if you accuse Democrats of not being qualified, especially if it's a so-called black liberal woman or so-called person of color, that's racist, right? It's racist and it's sexist. But apparently the media can do that for Judge Aileen Cannon, who is not only a Latino woman, but she's also an immigrant, okay? She was born in Colombia. So you have the mainstream liberal media criticizing this Colombian-born Latino woman who achieved the American dream of becoming a judge, something that Democrats would praise if she had a D by her name, right? But yet they're tearing her down, trying to make people question whether or not she's qualified to be doing her job, which is to preside over this Jack Smith case, the classified documents case against former President Trump. Okay, that's what's happening. And she just made a new ruling that quite honestly is humiliating for Jack Smith because he tried to seek a gag order against former President Trump because the Trump team was basically saying that, listen, the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago could have potentially put the president's life in danger because force was authorized. Now, the liberal media and the DOJ is saying, well, we do this for everybody, right? But, you know, I personally believe that if you have the feds raiding the residence of the former president who is being protected by Secret Service, I'm not sure under what circumstance would you actually need to use force, right? I'm not sure exactly why use of force would be authorized. But again, their defense is that this is standard language, okay? They weren't trying to actually kill the president, okay? They simply were just conducting a standard operation. This is what they say, right? This is what they say. Now, Jack Smith says, listen, we want to gag Trump, aka take away his freedom of speech, because we don't like him making claims that the FBI tried to kill him, right? We don't like that, okay? So we want him to be gagged. And Judge Aileen Cannon essentially rejected that gag order request immediately and also embarrassed Jack Smith for being unprofessional in how he basically demanded that this gag order be put into place before going through the proper procedures, aka working with the Trump team to try to come to some sort of understanding and solution on how to deal with the issue. Okay, basically he requested it too quickly and she rejected it immediately. Because of that, didn't really give time for the Trump team to really respond to it. He did it on like a Friday evening. He expected for the Trump campaign, I guess, to respond over the weekend and Memorial Day when people are off. Okay, and also on top of that, they're dealing with another political persecution. He wanted it now, okay, but the judge said no, okay. Jack Smith, I guess, is learning the hard way that this ain't Burger King, right? You can't have it your way with this judge, okay? Maybe some other liberal judge in New York, you could have it your way, but not with this judge, and not with the Supreme Court either, okay? I'm just saying. Any judge with some integrity, you can't have it your way. So we all know, again, that the mainstream liberal media propagandists are melting down. They're upset. They're fuming over this latest decision from Judge Aileen Cannon. Take a look.
Special counsel Jack Smith files a motion asking Trump-appointed Judge Aileen Cannon to address these dangerous circumstances, to put a stop to Donald Trump's violence-inducing lies. Not only does Judge Cannon refuse to address it, not only does she decline to do anything to chill or deter Donald Trump from telling his violence-inducing lies, no, rather, she threatens special counsel Jack Smith with sanctions for not being professional enough. Judge Aileen Cannon's behavior is, in a word, asinine.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that, okay? These people are fuming. They're fuming. They're upset. They're mad, okay? Again, this is, what happens when your propaganda is not working anymore, right? So these people are really upset because it seems as if nothing is going Biden's way or the Democrats' way. Everything's just falling apart. And I actually want to react to this other liberal propagandist here from Midas Touch, which, by the way, is an outlet that quite honestly would not exist if it wasn't for Trump. I'm not sure what a lot of these Trump deranged individuals are going to do once Trump is done with politics, okay? I'm pretty sure that once he's done, these networks will fall apart because you have a whole economy of people who are simply making money off of hating Trump. And this is one of those networks that basically has essentially branded themselves as just an anti-Trump network. And because they're so Trump deranged, we already know that their propagandist here, Mr. Michael Popok, is going to melt down over Judge Cannon's decision. And I want to listen to his mental gymnastics to try to argue that Judge Cannon is wrong. Okay, this is massive cope.
News alert. Judge Cannon has now ruled against the prosecution, and she's found a way to both deny the motion for a gag order to stop Donald Trump from claiming that the FBI was involved with a plot to attempt to assassinate him when they were executing the Mar-a-Lago search warrant, which is complete BS and fraudulently made and defamatorily made, does not constitute campaign speech. Yet Donald Trump continues to dox and put a target on the back of the FBI and the Department of Justice and try to get away with it. Special prosecutor, special counsel Jack Smith and his team filed a motion on Friday over the long weekend to have the court address the issue of whether he should be gagged and stopped from claiming that he was the victim of an attempted assassination by the Department of Justice, which of course undermines the criminal justice system, influences future jurors, and puts a target on the back of imminent danger against the FBI and the Department of Justice. You would think the judge would be interested in all of that. And the first filing that we got from Donald Trump just yesterday that we reported on here on the Midas Touch Network was not going to the substance about the assassination allegation and the fraud of it, but instead argued that under the local rules that the Department of Justice did not give Donald Trump a meaningful opportunity for conferral, meaning they didn't have a meet and confer, a conversation before the filing of the motion, which they are right, is required under most circumstances before a motion is filed.
So listen to this guy. He's already admitted, just like CNN admitted, that the Trump campaign is right, okay? Like, throw out all the stuff you're saying about, oh, well, Trump's claims about the FBI, I don't like him saying that. He's putting FBI agents in danger, which he's not, right? By saying that, he's not putting anybody in danger by saying that. They're just making that up. But this dude is already saying, yeah, Trump was right, right? He's right. This guy, Jack Smith, he jumped the gun, right? He thinks that the court is supposed to move at his pace, and that's just not the case. Just because you want the trial to happen before the election to advance your political career, that doesn't mean that everybody has to go along with it. Again, this ain't New York, okay? This ain't Atlanta. This ain't Fulton County, right? Hey, you're dealing with a judge with some integrity, right? So, these people really do think that these judges are supposed to just rush these trials, right? You should just rush, okay? Do a slop job in order to try to get Trump convicted. It's shameful.
But I would beg to differ. The Department of Justice did provide notice to Donald Trump's team before they filed, provided them with a copy of the motion, gave them time to get on a phone call with them and have the conversation, and they were met with resistance on Friday. They were told, we'll talk to you on Monday. We're in the middle of another trial, the trial in New York, and we're trying to put together our closing argument. We don't have time for a 10-minute phone call. And the department...
Well, I mean, is that not true? Right? Is that not true? What about that is false? If they're in the middle of constructing a closing argument for another trial, you're talking about a Friday evening. You got Saturday, Sunday, which again are weekends, typically days where you don't work, okay? And then Memorial Day, a holiday. Now keep in mind, again, Trump's team probably not taking these days off, probably are working diligently to construct their closing arguments. Yeah, 10 minutes is a lot of time, right? Which I'm pretty sure is more than just a 10-minute phone call. This guy is just, again, he's spewing his propaganda, trying to pretend like all he had to do is hop on the phone call and, they could just, sort it out real quick. No. This is not something that can be sorted out in 10 minutes. I'm pretty sure it would be much longer than a 10-minute phone call. So again, you talking about having to take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, who knows, to discuss this Jack Smith gag order thing when you're working on something else. And again, this guy did this on Friday evening, okay? So, of course, Jack Smith didn't give them enough time to respond, okay? Jack Smith is not somebody that requires priority, right? This is what these people are demanding. Everything Jack Smith does is supposed to get priority, right? This is what they're arguing. And he has been shown time and time again that no, you don't get special priority. You can't just fast track this case because you want to affect the outcome of the 2024 election and to clout chase to benefit your political career.
The Department of Justice said, we can't wait till Monday. They have an obligation to give them advance notice and to have a meet and confer, but the other side has to meet them in the middle. And if they refuse to effectively meet and confer, which is what Donald Trump's lawyers have done, they shouldn't benefit from it, but not according to Judge Aileen Cannon, who in a paperless order blamed again on the heels of a hearing in which she told the Department of Justice to calm down and to stop making arguments in her court effectively, which just happened last week during motion to dismiss practice. Now she's taking them a task again, beating them with both ends of the stick, the prosecution. Here's what she said in her paperless order. We have to I had to take a photocopy of it. I had to take a screenshot of it to read it to you. And she totally went with the argument Donald Trump raised, which was not a substantive argument about his speech or campaign speech, even though they threw that in there. It was about, we didn't have time to meet and confer because we're working on other things, and Monday wasn't good enough for the government, or some whining snowflake attack like that. And then trying to get two bites at the apple, attacking the prosecutors, saying that they are underhanded and they are unscrupulous, and the judge knows it. And this is campaign speech by the leading candidate for president. And by the way, we didn't get a chance to meet and confer about this before it was filed. This procedural technical issue, and the judge went with it. The judge bought it hook, line, and sinker. Here's what she said. paperless order denying without prejudice for lack of meaningful conferral, meaning talking before the motion is filed. Defendant Trump's procedural opposition, the court finds that the special counsel's pro forma conferral, in quotes, to be wholly lacking in substance and professional courtesy. It should go without saying that meaningful conferral is not a perfunctory exercise. Sufficient time needs to be afforded to permit reasonable evaluation of the requested relief by opposing counsel and allow for adequate follow-up discussion as necessary before the underlying motion is filed. This is so even when a party, quote, assumes the opposing party will oppose the proposed motion. Because the filing of the special counsel's motion did not adhere to these basic requirements, Judge Cannon went on, it is due to be denied without prejudice. Any future non-emergency motion, hold that thought, I'll tell you about the emergency motion part in a minute, brought in this case, whether on the topic of release conditions or anything else, shall not be filed absent meaningful, timely, and professional conferral under Local Rule 88.9. Moreover, all certificates of conference going forward shall appear in a separate section at the end of the motion, specify the exact timing, method, and substance of the conferral, and include, if requested by opposing counsel, no more than 200 words verbatim from the opposing side on the subject of conferral, again in objective terms. Failure to comply with these requirements may result in sanctions. In light of this order, the court determines to deny without prejudice Donald Trump's motion to strike and for sanctions 583. That's interesting. She denies the motion to strike and for sanctions because she doesn't think that was meaningfully conferred upon. And she also denies, apparently, the special counsel's motion to modify conditions of release. So it's a little bit of a pox upon both your houses. Trump, you filed a motion for sanctions saying they didn't meaningfully confer and you want sanctions, but you didn't meaningfully have a conversation with the prosecution either. And prosecution, you didn't have a meaningful conferral about your motion for a gag order. So both of them are denied. Get back to talking. I mean, that's the best way to read it. And again...
Yeah, so again, that to me sounds like neutrality. That doesn't sound like a MAGA judge to me. That doesn't sound like a judge that's trying to do Trump favors, right? That doesn't sound like, a biased judge. Sounds like a judge that, hey, she says, listen, both parties was wrong. Now, in this case, it doesn't benefit Jack Smith, but hey, try again, right? Try again later. Again, it's just so funny how when you have these judges who are neutral, right? It seems to me they're acting in neutral ways. They're not even acting in ways that are overtly in benefit of Trump, okay? They're acting in neutral ways. They're doing their due diligence. And they're being criticized by the mainstream liberal media because they're not trying to do sloppy work. Like, for example, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is probably not going to grant Trump full immunity or the president of the United States full immunity. They'll probably do partial immunity. However, they are probably going to kick this case back to lower courts because it needs to be decided what is it that constitutes an official act versus a private act. These things have to be hashed out in court, right? Before we can actually make a ruling. And the mainstream liberal media is mad at that, right? They're upset and they're trying to say, well, the Supreme Court is trying to help Trump. Judge Cannon is trying to help Trump. They MAGA judges. I mean, they're literally calling to try to overthrow the Supreme Court because they're trying to protect our republic, okay? That's what they're doing. Democrats have tried to have Trump removed from ballots, and the Supreme Court says, okay, we're going to rush these cases because we need to actually hear these cases because of the implications that it can have on the election and the fact that you're going to straight up not allow a former president to be on the ballot even though he's eligible to be on the ballot, right? So they're like, yeah, we got to hear this because it has implications on the election, like real implications in the sense that you're not going to allow somebody on the ballot. But when it comes to the January 6th case, well, the Supreme Court is like, listen, this doesn't really have much to do with the election in the sense that the case has to be decided before the election. No, it doesn't have to be decided before the election. Therefore, we're going to take our time and to make sure we get it right because, again, we're dealing with the former president of the United States. There are a lot of questions about this, okay? So, therefore, again, we're going to take our time with it. And the mainstream media, they're losing their minds. They're losing their minds. So, I just find this to be hilarious. I think that it would be hilarious if Trump, when he wins, if Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito retire, which we are speculating that they will, that Judge Cannon is appointed to the Supreme Court. That would be so funny to me because these people would lose their mind. They be saying she's DEI, right? They be saying she's unqualified. She ain't really a Latina. She ain't really a woman. This is all the stuff they'll be saying if Trump ends up appointing Judge Cannon to the Supreme Court. That would be hilarious to me. But anyways, you guys can see what's going on here. Liberals upset once again that they can't get their way. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.